What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about Lucid. They just had their Q1 earnings. I want to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly from their earnings, go over the data points for today and everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is down 3.65%, 223 the low, 242 the high. So Lucid actually did do fairly okay during the pre-market and as soon as the market opened, and of course, as you can kind of see, it did go up. So it piggybacked off of the momentum in the broader market associated to the States and China beginning negotiations. I believe it is on Saturday. But what I find comical about the market is it kind of wants to be told what to do. So it piggybacked off the momentum and then it went down. And the reason why it went down right here was because of two things. So you did have shorts really double down, but there was two analyst ratings that were just posted, and maybe there was some manipulation behind it, but John Murphy, Bank of America, $1 sell. And then you had Chris Pierce with Needham. And what I find interesting about those two ratings that did come out, neither of them did participate in the actual conference itself. So only 4 analysts, so kind of a very low attendance. So you had Stifel, Cantor Fitzgerald, Baird, and Redburn. So at the end of the day, it does show that Lucid is losing somewhat interest from analysts, but nonetheless, you have these very bad ratings for the most part. Needham, again, didn't give a price target, but they did state that they do feel like there's more downside ultimately. But shorts. So shorts are increasing a crazy 11.51 million shares. 29.61% of the free float is being shorted, works to be 364.57 million shares. So shorts absolutely doubling down based on the earnings. And like I said, it surprisingly did do very well. When I was live streaming yesterday with 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, hats off to 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗧𝗧 for joining, but I even stated that I feel that it was going to go down only because market is very much favoring future guidance. And Lucid, they did okay on a lot of the key metrics, so kind of came in line for the most part, but their future guidance, like, it wasn't all that great. Now, again, I always like to play devil's advocate, so I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm not here to pump you up or bring you down. I just say it how it is. And I think their future guidance was somewhat lackluster, unfortunately. But a couple things, though, that I did highlight that is worthwhile to bring up. So still, they kind of dangled the carrot about partnerships and licensing and so forth. Mark exactly said that some are in the early stages, so infancy stages, and some are mature. So it sounds as though that they are close to some potential licensing deals, but they mentioned it, I believe, 3 or 4 times throughout the earnings call that some are worried about tariff issues. So I think at the end of the day, we just need some clarity on tariffs. And so that's something that not just Lucid, but the broader market does need. And then aside from that, they did mention that there's going to be a global ambassador. And so hopefully that's going to be a big name, maybe a footballer or someone else. There's also going to be a Gravity campaign that's going to be starting soon, so in the next month or so. So that should be a fairly good thing. But I think just even analysts, so of the analysts that did ask questions, they weren't really focused on the actual key metrics. So like the earnings per share, they weren't really worried about that. They were worried about the future guidance. And of the 20,000, which on a side note, Lucid did reconfirm, how many of those are associated to the Gravity? Unfortunately, Lucid was unable to really answer that, so didn't really feed into the good, warm, fuzzy feeling that a lot of investors would have ideally liked. But still, I think there was some good things. I'm going to go over a lot of this with a fine-tooth comb just to see if there was anything that I might have missed. But obviously, as you can kind of tell, there wasn't really much to it. Of course, you can kind of spin anything to a positive or a negative, so I'm sure there is A couple of things that I did miss that maybe is a very strong positive, but not enough for big money to really get behind. So these are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. A couple pockets of buys, so that's basically what helped it really move higher. And then you have this kind of pocket of selling. Market's somewhat holding its breath right now for Powell, so that's going to be coming out in roughly 1 hour-ish. And of course, a lot of people will be waiting to see what Trump's kind of comments afterwards are. So I think Trump really wants rate cuts, and if that doesn't come, which most likely they won't, he might be somewhat irritated. So we'll kind of have to wait and see how that does play out. But based on this, so you have 715,000 in calls, 237,000 in puts. 40% of all the options being done today are bullish in nature. A lot of big kind of names getting in near the bottom here, and big names, I mean institutions, because I don't think retail has 547,000 to drop for options, but that was done just recently between 12:05 and 12:10. Aside from that, based on the bulls, you see a consensus for it to be above 250, so optimism has definitely dropped. Bears seem to be running quite rampant, and on a positive note, I guess the worst case scenario that they see is for it to be sub 2. So definitely there is still a little bit more upside than down anticipated. With it at 224, trading between this pivot and this S1, so 218 is going to be that strong support. And in my live stream yesterday, I did signal that's most likely where I see it going and bouncing off of. Then 241 is going to be the next strong target, so that's resistance, and conveniently that's where it did bounce off of kind of the high. But I think over the next couple of days, what analysts really do say, and most likely will at least get 4 new ratings, because again, 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, well, Cantor gave their $3 rating, that was one day before the earnings, so it doesn't really make sense for them to re-rate, but Baird and also Redburn. So we might get 3 new ratings, possibly a couple others, and dependent on that, we might move higher or potentially lower. One positive thing though, coming from a analyst Q&A type of thing, is that they didn't really and weren't focused on dilution. Every other earnings for at least as far as I'm aware, they always had one question saying, hey, you need a lot of capital. When's the next time that you feel you're going to be raising and whatever? That wasn't asked this time. So maybe that's a positive thing, that things and margins seem to be improving. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid in the comments below. Aside from all of that though, unfortunately because of today's pullback, it is below that 50-day moving average. So I've even stated that prior to their earnings that was going to be that deciding point to see if it was going to get above or below that 50 or 100-day moving average, because it was kind of just wedge bound stuck between there. But yeah, I think all in all, Lucid is making improvements, just they need to ramp things up a little bit better. And they're kind of unfortunately making the same mistakes as the Air launch as far as kind of ramping up, supply chain issues and whatever. So I feel like they need to stop kind of making excuses and really just get the damn job done, because unfortunately I believe it was Mark near the end of the actual earnings call, he kind of sounded as though that he was making excuses a little bit, saying that they've gone through a lot, the Air launch during COVID and whatever, and that they've had a very difficult time. So I feel like he was kind of making excuses. I didn't really like that all that much, but let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Is there anything that stood out to you as a overwhelming positive, or was it negative, or was it just neutral? Like I said, I think my takeaway was it was just okay. Nothing really to stop what you're doing and buy, nor stop what you're doing and sell. It's kind of just okay, good FYI. Thanks for the info. But let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon and get buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point and bangers. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.